All right, folks, buckle up because the 2028 race might have just gotten its first major shakeup, and it's coming straight from President Trump himself. He's putting his weight behind Vice President J.D. Vance and even hinting at a possible J.D. Vance Marco Rubio ticket. Now, why does that matter? Because if history is any guide, a Trump endorsement in the GOP is basically a golden ticket to the nomination. And Vance, he's already signaling that he'll carry the America First torch for another 8 years after Trump. We're also going to break down what this means for Republicans, why Democrats are in total disarray, and how redistricting battles, yes, like the one brewing in California after Texas made their move, could lock in a conservative advantage. But before we get into this video, please make sure you like and subscribe. Now let's begin. Welcome to Nelly Miranda. So let's start with the numbers because numbers don't lie. A recent CNN poll has J.D. Vance at 40% in the Republican primary field. And folks, the next closest competitor is Ron DeSantis at 8%. And then Donald Trump Jr. trails at 7%. So in other words, there is no competition. Take a look at this clip of Harry Enten from CNN. He is such a character.
Let's talk about J.D. Vance and the 2028. Where does he stand on this?
You know, I'm going to quote the esteemed scholar Larry David and say, pretty good. What are we talking about right here? Well, why don't we take a look here? Look, this is early polling, but look, for the GOP nomination, it's J.D. Vance at 40%. There's no one even close to him. Ron DeSantis back at single digits at 8%. Donald Trump Jr. back at 7%. President Trump, you know, has said some pretty gosh darn favorable things about J.D. Vance over the last week and his chances perhaps in 2028. Look at this. Times Trump endorses in GOP primaries, and that person goes on to win. Look at this. In 2020, 98%. 2022, 95%. 2024, 96%. If Donald Trump decides to get behind his vice president, this GOP nomination fight in 2028 is likely adios amigos over. J.D. Vance is very much likely going to be the GOP nominee, which is what the polling says and what his history says as well. At this point, things all seem to be coming up for J.D.
How people view the Democratic Party right now, is that contributing to this?
Yeah, I think that is in large part of what's going on, is one of the reasons why there is no front runner. Nobody wants to put anybody up at the top of their ballot list is because at this particular point, the Democratic brand is in the basement. It is total and complete garbage in the mind of the American public. The Democratic Party's net favorable rating, record lows in all three. Wall Street Journal, 30 points underwater. CNN, 26 points underwater. Gallup, 26 points underwater. And that is being driven in large part by discontent within the Democratic base. The Democratic base wants something different. We'll ultimately end up seeing who they choose. It'll be quite the thing who ultimately gets the rose.
Now get this. Every time Trump endorses a GOP candidate in recent cycles, that candidate wins over 95% of the time. So if Trump is publicly floating Vance as his successor, history tells us that the GOP nomination in 2028 might already be a done deal. This is also why Democrats are sweating bullets because they don't have a front runner. In fact, their approval ratings are at rock bottom. Wall Street Journal shows them 30 points underwater, and CNN says 26. Gallup says 26 as well. And voters just aren't happy with Democrat leadership. They can't even agree on who should replace it. Stephen A. Smith hit the nail on the head when he said that the Democratic Party does not have a leader.
Well, that's easy to understand. One party has a leader in Donald Trump. You can refute, nobody can refute that. He is the leader of the GOP and the Republican Party. Make no mistake about it. The Democrats don't have a leader. You know, I see who's your leader? Who is it? Is it AOC? Is it Bernie Sanders? Is it Jasmine Crockett? Who is it? You know, we respect so many people on Capitol Hill. I'm certainly not here to cast aspersions upon individuals, but as a body, the Democratic Party just looks very, very bad right now because they look leaderless. They don't have a definitive voice that anybody can depend on. When we look towards 2028, for example, we see a guy like Governor Wes Moore, who I like a lot and I think is very capable. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, who I like and I think is very, very capable. But when you talk about a national voice for the Democratic Party, it is literally non-existent. You have no one right now.
They don't know if they want to double down on Gavin Newsom's slick Trump-like routine, swing hard left with AOC, or go with another Obama copycat like Hakeem Jeffries. And we all know that they are keeping Kamala Harris as far from the 2028 ballot as humanely possible. And here's the reality. When a party has no leader, no plan, and no unifying message the voters notice. And right now, Democrats look like a band with no lead singer arguing over which song to play while the audience heads for the exits. Now, let's get to one of the most explosive points that J.D. Vance made in his recent Fox News interview: immigration and representation. Most people don't realize that the U.S. counts all residents, even illegal immigrants, in the census for congressional representation. That means states like California get extra House seats because of their huge illegal alien populations. Take a look at this clip of J.D. Vance discussing the census and the impact that illegal immigrants have on congressional representation.
I didn't even realize this, Maria, until a couple of years ago, that, for apportioning representatives, you actually count illegal aliens. So even though illegal aliens theoretically are not supposed to vote, we know sometimes they do, you still count illegal aliens for congressional apportionment. So California has way more House seats than it should because they have such a high population of illegal aliens. So they get rewarded for welcoming illegal aliens into their state, giving them federal benefits, actually asking the taxpayers of states like Ohio to subsidize them. And then those same taxpayers in Ohio and Indiana and elsewhere, they have fewer congressional representatives because of what California has allowed to happen. That's ridiculously unfair. And the only real way to fight back against it is for us to redistrict in some ways as aggressively as these hard blue states have done.
And here's where it gets interesting. Texas just finished a hard-nosed redistricting effort to strengthen conservative districts. And guess who's suddenly considering redistricting too? California. Only they want to do it in a way that preserves their blue dominance. Vance's point is simple. Republicans need to fight back just as aggressively, because if blue states can pad their representation by attracting illegal immigration, red states should be using every legal tool to make sure that their own citizens aren't losing representation in Congress. And folks, this isn't just about seats. It's about the Electoral College, federal funding, and the balance of power for decades. This is why Democrats play their favorite game, weaponizing the Constitution when it suits them and ignoring it when it doesn't. Because they'll scream due process to stall deportations, insist that every illegal immigrant get taxpayer-funded legal hearings, and push birthright citizenship to anchor more votes in blue districts. They know the system is slow, overloaded, and expensive, which means by the time anything moves, they've already changed the political map. It is never about compassion. It is always about power and retaining it. But let's get to the good part. When asked if he's running in 2028, Vance gave the classic politician's answer. We're focused on doing a good job for the American people, which translates to, yeah, I'm running, but I'm not giving you the headline yet. Watch.
The president has been floating you along with Marco Rubio as your partner for the next election. Have you spoken to Secretary Rubio about this?
I saw Marco about a month ago. We just laughed at the whole thing because neither one of us are focused on politics. We're focused on actually doing a good job for the American people. And the way that I think about it, Maria, is if we do a good job, number one, that's the reward in and of itself, that all have made a big difference in the lives of our country for the last 6 months, the next 3.5 years. But if we do a good job, the politics will take care of itself. Let's just focus on that. I think, as the president said, it's way too early to be thinking about the political future. It's frankly way too early to be thinking about 2026. It's certainly way too early to be thinking about 2028.
But you are expecting to run for president in 28.
I'm not going to break that news today, Maria. What I'm going to do is focus for the next 1.5 years on doing a really good job for the American people, winning the midterm elections in 2026, and then we can talk about politics after that.
And here's why that works, because unlike Kamala Harris, who giggled her way through every VP interview, Vance projects composure, competence, and credibility. He's not campaigning on ego. He's campaigning on results. And here's the bigger picture. If Republicans play their cards right, redistrict in a smart way like Texas just did, and make sure that census reflects actual citizens, J.D. Vance could enter the White House with a Republican supermajority in Congress. That means no excuses. That means the America First agenda could move faster than ever. And the Democrats, they'll still be stuck running against a man who's no longer on the ballot, cursing on TikTok, and calling half the country Nazis. They have boxed themselves into being the anti-Trump party. And when Trump leaves, that strategy will leave with him. Now, out of everything JD Vance was asked, this was the most important question of the entire interview because no matter what party you belong to, every single American feels the economy in their own pocketbook. After 4 long years of Joe Biden's disastrous economic policies, sky-high inflation, record grocery bills, gas prices that make you want to bike to work, and even a shrinking middle class, people are desperate for, a president who actually knows how to create prosperity again. And here's where Vance absolutely nails it. He explained how President Trump's tariffs didn't just protect American industries, they brought results, big results. We're talking about Tim Cook walking into the White House and pledging a $600 billion investments to build iPhones, AI data centers, and other high-tech manufacturing right here in America. Take a look at this next clip.
What the president has used tariffs to do is 2 things. Number one, you saw Tim Cook just this week come in and promise $600 billion of investment to build the iPhone, to build components, to build artificial intelligence data centers right here in the United States of America. We're seeing a manufacturing boom in this country because you have a president who's telling people that if you want to sell to great American consumers, you've got to make it in America and use great American workers to do it. The second thing the tariffs are doing is it's bringing in a lot of additional revenue, which of course we're using to give tax relief to the American people and make it easier for average Americans to get by. So I think we're doing a lot on the tariff side. And it's also, the final point I'll make on this is it's an incredible negotiating tool, because when you tell countries that have accessed American markets and cheated for a generation, you can't get into America's market unless you pay a big fat tariff or open up your own markets. You've seen this happen with the European Union. You've seen this happen with countries in Asia, all over the world. They're opening up their markets to American goods because they don't want to pay the tariffs. So it's a great negotiating tactic. It's been great for the American people. And I think it's the most important thing. Maybe aside from the border, the most important thing the president is doing is bringing back American prosperity. We're going to make more stuff in America because of the president's leadership.
See, tariffs don't just raise revenue. They're a negotiating sledgehammer. They force foreign producers to open their markets to American goods. And they push U.S. companies to invest in American workers instead of sending jobs to China. And make no mistake, Democrats want to tear this down. They want to scrap tariffs, plunge headfirst into expensive green energy mandates, and send manufacturing jobs right back overseas, undoing all the progress and all the paychecks that come with it. But we cannot and will not let that happen. So here's the question. If it's Vance versus Newsom, or Vance versus AOC, or even Vance versus some last-minute Democrat Hail Mary, do you think the America First movement can lock in 12 years of wins? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you value honest commentary, please make sure you like and subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.